Okay, so what happens in this buffered reader and reading delimited text example is that we have a book object which apparently contains data attributes such as code, description, and price. And so we can construct the book right here from these strings. String that represents the code, strings that represents the description, and also a double, which is the price of the specific product, right? So once again, we use a constructor which essentially takes the text version of the price and makes it a double. Okay. So as before, buffered reader and file reader. Now notice that when you use buffered reader, you don't have to say open file. You don't need to say open file. Once created, the file is open for reading. And remember, if it doesn't exist, then what happens is that a file not found exception is generated. So by the time we get to read line, the file is already open, and we can say read line, right? And of course, you know, you can use a path or you can use a string to give it to the file reader constructor. Okay, and so that reads a single line. We don't create any loops, just a single line. And all familiar split method of a string, which essentially uses this tab character as delimiter, should break the entire string into an array of strings. We call it columns, right? So these columns will be numbered 0, 1, and 2, and this way we can obtain our code, description, and price, and essentially construct the book, and that is the example of that type of operation. All right, so moving on, a few other possibilities. We say formatted input. When I recognize formatted input when the input operation instantly converts a text, an input text, into the primitive data type. In other words, I would like to go to an internal integer and double and Boolean formats as soon as possible, right? So to me, it's almost like an idea is that I really want to do this as soon as possible. And look what this specific example shows us, right? So if we create file reader, okay, if we create the file reader and give this file reader to the scanner class, remember usually we use the scanner to use it with the keyboard, and the keyboard, basically the keyboard input was given by the standard input stream system.in, and this what to this day what we did with the scanner, we said scanner system.in. This time we say scanner new file reader. Okay, so the scanner file new file reader will be able to use the file reader as the stream of characters, and the scanner basically is going to name input file, in file, in this specific example. So there we can say next, next double, next in, and everything else that we already know about the scanner. So the notion of the stream, those text streams, is very powerful in the sense that you can use other objects that you already perfectly know how they work. We already know what types of exceptions happen when you use the scanner class, and there you go. You just construct the scanner class, and all familiar, methods of the scanner become available. So you already know how to program them, how to deal with them, what kind of work you need with them. But notice just one extra thing that we usually didn't do with the keyboard. Here we say input file close. All right, so it's still a good idea to use the scanner, which basically sits on top of the stream, Okay, it can be standard stream from the keyboard, or it can be a file, as we just did with the file reader. But it's a good idea to close that input stream, close that file. All right, so we've seen some of the exceptions, and today we've seen this file not found exception, but there's also end of file exception. So end of file is basically if you go back here and attempt to use the scanner to read the information, but if you have already reached the end of file, you've just read the last byte, then what's going to happen, of course, the system is going to throw this exception, and it's going to say end of file exception. So this is, in many ways, this is completely harmless. It doesn't cause any harm. It doesn't cause data loss. It's just a signal to you that, hey, you're done. Don't try to read anymore. The information, all information that was there is already being given to you. So you can basically proceed to closing your input stream and move on and continue with the data that you just got. All right. So the code that handles those I/O exceptions. So let's examine this in the next segment.